Welcome to Your Life Simplified. My name is Brian Leitner, and I'll be the host of this podcast. 80% of clutter in your home is due to lack of organization and not having enough space. So think about that for just a second. Getting rid of the clutter in your house would eliminate 40% of the housework that you do. There are a great deal of statistics that lend itself to why being organized improves your life. I have personally met with a great deal of clients, and it seems to me that a fundamental aspect of being successful is being organized. And so today, I'm going to welcome two guests, Kristen, and Lisa Foley, and they have an organization called Be Organized. And I know a little bit about the practice, and what you guys have told me is really, really interesting, and I think our listeners would really appreciate this. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about that business.
Well, thank you, Brian, for having us. I'm Lisa Foley, and here with Kristen. We founded our company in September of 2015 and just did not expect the demand. As you said, so many people, just are overwhelmed and burdened by stuff in their homes.
And our whole goal is to come out there and help people simplify their lives by simplifying their environment, their homes, their cars, their schedules, so that they can be more in line with their lives on a daily basis, more present and more at peace.
Most people don't, as a child, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be X. I'm going to be this organizer, right? So, maybe it's something else. So how did you guys, fall into this? How did you guys come up with this concept or idea?
Lisa and I grew up together in Denver, and I remember very specifically talking to her on the phone in high school, and there was always a vacuum going in the background. And so she came from this background. But did either of us grow up saying, I'm going to be a professional organizer? No. But as we got married and had kids and were setting up our own homes, we just together would in tandem organize each other's spaces, find a good spot for this, that, and the other, and simplifying the crazy life of raising kids and busy families. And so when both of us were at a point where we needed to financially contribute to our families, we started looking around at a business that we could start. And it was just such a natural, because this is what we love, is helping make life simpler. And we do pretty good at it in our own lives. We thought, let's go get paid to do so.
So tell me a little bit about the process and what does this look like? So I've heard of professional organizers, but candidly don't know a great deal about them, right? So tell me a little bit about what that process is, what you do for folks. What does a starting point look like? Mm-hmm. When do I know I even need one? Those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So typically when someone comes to us, they've had it. They're fed up. They're feeling like they have so many balls in the air. They cannot catch a break and get the right foot forward. So what we do is a lot of times just coming in and wrapping our arms around people and telling them to breathe and give themselves some grace. And we always say the words, organization is a journey, not a destination, and remind them that, it's taken a long time to get the way you're living and get your house the way it is. We're going to take it step by step, and we're there with you. So we really come to our clients with a compassionate, open, non-judgment heart. Then from just logistics, we start off with a free in-home assessment where we come in and take a look at the space or spaces. We ask a lot of questions.
The entire house, this is, right?
Typically, we try to fine tune or, focus on one area of the house that they're calling on, like the basement or whatnot. Oftentimes it comes to be the whole house in that assessment, just because they've kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and they're showing the spaces. So they kind of want to show it all. And then what we can do is help them prioritize. We oftentimes remind them of the visual of, there's a Shel Silverstein poem about a little girl sitting down at the table eating a whale. And that you can't eat a whale in one sitting all by yourself. But in the poem, she does. And at the end, she's this little old lady at a table of bones. And we remind people of that because you just got to do it bite by bite, step by step. And what we do as Be Organized, we come in and roll up our sleeves and do it right alongside with them with all the resources that we have, the philosophy. We remind them of their end goal. And we really try to come up with customized, sustainable solutions that work for them, so that they have a chance at success at that. We always say we want repeat business, but just not in the same space.
Another benefit of using a professional organizer is it's an appointment. So they have to set aside the time to go through the items that, when you have young kids, or just depending on the season of life, if it's your parents' home that you're going through, it's very difficult to find, a 6-hour window of time where you're not getting squirreled away to go to a soccer game or something. So that's a huge benefit of using, a professional organizer like us.
And some wording we use too, we talk about an organizational remodel. You'll pay a lot of money to have a closet remodeled or a back deck put on or your kitchen remodeled to better your life. We'll look at this as an organizational remodel. Bring in help, get it done right the first time in a fair amount of time and in a way that it'll be able to be maintained.
That's a really interesting point. When you think about the fact that we'll spend X amount of dollars to remodel something, sometimes things don't need to be remodeled. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They just need to be maybe reorganized.
Yeah.
Well, we a lot of times, when we go in and there's a basement that you can't walk through and we clear it out and we set up a play space and a yoga spot for mom and a craft, they just gained square footage in their house without adding.
Yeah.
They just took back space.
Something else you mentioned, it was I don't know if you said you opened the Band-Aid or the line that you said. I'm just thinking emotionally. There's obviously folks that have hoarding issues, people that have had things for so many different years and can't get rid of it for one reason or another. They're emotionally tied to it. They don't like change, whatever those reasons are. Can you talk a little bit about the emotional aspect that someone might go through this process?
Yeah. So everyone has a relationship with stuff. The question is, how is that relationship? Is it a healthy relationship? Does it bring you joy or does it bring you down? So we've kind of identified several different profiles of people and why they hang on to things. It could be just in case, I need to hang on to this just in case company comes by, or there's the memory keeper that hangs on to things that they just cannot part with because it's as if their memories will disappear if they get rid of this item. So we have several different profiles that we've identified. And by doing so, we can kind of talk that same language with that person when we're working with them, going through their stuff.
Yes, and absolutely. But there is on that, even though if they know and then they can identify what profile they fit in of ours, there's embarrassment. We always say our biggest competition out there is embarrassment because people don't want us to come into their deep, dark spaces. We've even had a client say she would rather be standing there naked instead of showing us her basement. And it's sad. We had a client, I was just speaking to a client the other day, and she said that before we came, when the doorbell rang, she had panic because she didn't want anyone to see how they were living. And that is sad. And we can help them change that. And that's kind of the mission that we're on, is to help simplify. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're not looking at perfect Pinterest worthy before and afters, but with really simplifying. And a lot of that comes from purging a lot of what you had, like you said, of getting rid of a lot of stuff. We can help them find simplicity.
So it really sounds like almost on the front end, helping people know that it's okay. Everyone starts somewhere just to get, over that hump, if you will. And then they truly are able to open up and find value in that and live a better life.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And, think about what's in your basement. It's your past. It's your history. It's what you wished you had become. It's people that have come and gone.
I didn't even think about that. That's really deep.
That high school swimmer that was going to go on to the Olympics. So you've got all the kickboards and all the stuff. And it's like, seriously, you haven't touched this in years. Holding on to, law books because you went to law school, but you never did anything with a law degree. And so really that's bringing you negative energy. It's bringing you down and reminding you of what you didn't do, what you didn't become.
You said, think about what's in your basement. I'm thinking about the 3 years I went to graduate school for taxes. The books are still down there. There's probably 15 of them. My wife would love for me to throw them away. The reality is they're out of date anyway.
Right.
But for some reason, maybe it's because I spent a whole lot of money on it. They're still there. So
we call you a memory keeper and a money minder.
I remember what I spent on that. Yeah. I can't get rid of it.
You're not going to get anything on eBay for them right now.
Agreed. You're right. They should be thrown out. And for some reason, they're still there.
Because it represents a time in your life and a direction you were going in there.
Yeah, hopefully there are better memories in my life than going to tax school. But
I
get it. One of the other things you mentioned were the resources that you guys bring to the table. You mind sharing what some of those are?
We work with a lot of people because when we're trying to get them to purge through and get rid of a lot of their belongings, And again, a side note here, we don't force anything. It's always their decision, but we're kind of there gently nudging. But if we can help them find second lives for their belongings that they feel good about, we have found that people are more likely to let go. So if we can help them find, we had a client where their parents had passed, but they had a lot of fabulous religious Catholic books. So we found a Catholic church that wanted those books. We have passed along old wedding dresses onto drama clubs and theater organizations. So they feel good about letting go of those pieces, and they know that they're not just going to go sit in a landfill or, sit at a donation site.
So, I'm a dad, I'm busy, 2 kids, I'm married, my basement's a mess. How do I know when to engage with professionals like yourself? I mean, to your point, when it becomes too much, it depends on what your threshold for pain is, right? So, I mean, is there, and I also understand, life events may play a role in this too. Is there generally sort of a rule of thumb or things that you've seen with people that you brought in already?
We see a lot of times people in transition. So we work with a lot of people who are downsizing or upsizing, or right sizing is probably the right terminology to use on that, after someone has passed away. So a lot of those big life events, yes, they have to have us come in to show the house, to have it be, or we'll go in before a remodel of a basement. They can't have the contractors come in if there's stuff everywhere. Also, just wanting to simplify. We had a client this week where she's having a huge surgery next week. So we came in to simplify her workspace and her home office so that she could better attend to it while she was recovering. So yes, life changes and life events definitely, or mother-in-law's coming into town.
Yeah. But it's really different for everybody. We had a client that called us. Her basement wasn't even all that bad, but it was a huge contention in their marriage. Mm-hmm. And she said, my husband really may leave me if I don't get this figured out. And she, wrote a note and said, "You have really saved my marriage."
Wow.
So it's so personal, and it's so different for everybody. By the time the phone rings for us, they're just overwhelmed and they don't know where to start.
So you're saving.
But that level of pain is different.
Yeah, whatever their threshold. We had a client whose mom passed away 7 years ago, and she's had a couple boxes in her master closet of stuff that came from her mom, and not necessarily like good feeling stuff coming. It was like almost bad mojo. And she walked past it every single day in her master closet, and she finally just had it.
It's funny sitting back and listening to this. I can't help but think about the way people are sort of embarrassed about maybe their health, right, and what that looks like. And so some of what you're saying, I was embarrassed to answer the door because I don't want someone to see my basement. I'd rather them see me naked. Some nutritionist might come to the house and say, "Show me your pantry. What's in your closet? What are you eating?" And that's embarrassment. And it's all about, getting over this hump. There are a lot of analogies to different areas of one's life as it relates to this and being organized. This is a more difficult question, but if you were to come over and, let's just say, improve the look and feel of my basement, right? You don't know how big that basement is. I'm just really trying to get an idea of what is an engagement look like? How duration wise? Is this something that takes a few days? Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
So it really depends on the house and the people, how quickly people make decisions, and the amount of stuff that we're looking at. So we work with the homeowner, on the beginning of every single project. We take everything apart, they eyeball everything, make a decision whether they want to keep it, donate it, sell it, and we kind of talk through each and every item in the basement. We make a huge mess, big piles of what's donated, what's trash, what's keep, what maybe needs to go to some other place in your home. And then we're kind of done with the homeowner at that point. They can go and move on, and then we put it all back together and tie it up with a bow, all labeled containers. And so that's kind of the process.
Finishing. And the idea is that when we're done, all of it is done. There's no homework. There's no pile of take this to Sister Sue's house and take this over to donate and try. We take care of all those odds and ends with the idea that, you'd never have a contractor come in and do your kitchen remodel without finishing,
putting away.
Putting the knobs back on. So we get it all finished and done.
So what about for that individual that says, "Hey, this sounds good. I'd like to be organized. Maybe I, for whatever reason, do not want to hire someone, can't hire someone, or so forth." Can you guys give maybe a few thoughts, actionable ideas on how they can get organized and on their own?
Yeah, so I think the first tip is going through the purge process. You really have to look at everything and touch everything. It's very difficult to organize all of the same stuff. You've got to eliminate what you're not using. Really, it's the 80-20 rule. We all use 20% of what's in our home. We wear 20% what's in our closet. So just taking the time, setting an appointment for yourself to go through, each space at a time, take it in bite-sized pieces, and don't try and tackle, like Kristen said, the whole house or whale at a time.
And we like to call that purge process the power purge. And really, if you don't eliminate things, because the reason everything is unorganized or untidy, it's because you have too much and nothing has a home. And so if everything has a home to go to, then, in living and whatnot, it may not be perfect. Your kids may not put them back the same place, but at least it has a home. And then you have a chance of staying organized or getting organized. So that power purge process. And just to back up a little bit, we have 3 very specific questions that we ask people during that purge process. And that is, do you love this item? Does it bring you happiness? Does it make you smile? Okay, then you can keep it. Does it have a specific purpose right now or in the very near future? Okay, keep it. If it's valuable or irreplaceable or an heirloom or whatnot, okay, let's keep it. Maybe that doesn't mean forever, but we're going to talk about it. If you say no to any of those questions, why in the world are you keeping this item?
Right.
Have things that, feed your soul and help your life be better in your home. Everything else needs to go. So if you follow those questions, that purging process that Lisa was talking about is so easy.
Mm-hmm.
What else, Lisa?
Well, just kind of stay on task and see it through. If you're making a pile of donations, actually take them to be donated or have someone come and pick them up. If we have the pile sitting there, it's just adding more chaos, and you start pulling out the pile, which is not happening either.
That's why when you call the bees, we take it with us that day. So your kids can't go through it. But also maintain when you organize a space, you can't just then forget it and be done. It's kind of like when you lose weight. You can't just go back to your old diet, old way of eating. You've got to kind of maintain, or that weight will creep back on. Same thing. You have to maintain your spaces. But if you get them organized, then just a few minutes a week maybe will help you maintain those spaces. And of course, obviously, the biggest words we try to impart upon our clients is organization is a journey. It is not a destination. Give yourself grace.
And try and make it fun. Have a friend come over, play some music. I mean, it does not have to be a horrible task. But it is hard. It's emotional, like we talked about. It is hard going through your things. So if you have a friend there to hold you accountable, or your mom, or someone that can just help you through that and help make those decisions, it will go a lot faster and a lot easier.
Another tip also, if you're at this stage in life where you're looking to possibly make a move, downsizing, getting out of the big house, we have a lot of clients who come to us and say, I need help cleaning out and getting rid of this stuff so my kids don't have to. And thinking just long range. And a lot of times people get caught in a timeline. And so they've got to get the house on the market, or somebody falls ill and they've got to get into assisted living. If you do things now so that you take that pressure and stress of the timeline out, then you can take your time finding the right solutions and second homes and whatnot for those pieces. One thing we will say is your kids are not going to want a lot of that stuff. Your kids, your grandkids, the times have changed, decor has changed.
But have those conversations now.
Yeah. And just there's lots of different ways that you can offload that stuff, maybe even make a penny or two, or have it go on and know that it served its time in your life. It served its purpose at that season in your life, but now you're in a different season of life.
Yeah, I think that resonates really well, especially with people in my generation. So I'm Gen X, and my parents were given china at a certain age, or maybe my in-laws as well. And it's really that generation. And the reality is, in my family, I don't need the china. I don't need those glasses. It's really just clutter, and it just sits in the basement somewhere. And so to your point about, that individual may be valuable to them, but at the end of the day, maybe your kids just don't want that. They moved on and it was never important to them.
Right.
So to your point, having the conversations today make a lot of sense.
And not keeping out of guilt.
Right. Exactly.
Somebody's not going to come from the grave and get you if you get rid of Aunt Polly's china or something. But
great point.
The garage is the space that we see that the most.
Sure.
If the garage isn't organized, there's 10 hammers and,
7 rakes.
Yeah.
So where you guys start when you walk in for the assessment. Let's see the garage first.
Yeah.
So our listeners are all over the country. So obviously they may not be in the Kansas City area. If I'm a listener of this podcast and I'm thinking to myself, hey, maybe this makes sense, but I am in a different state. Is there something they can do? Is there something they can go online and find someone such as yourselves? What does that look like?
So we are part of NAPO, which is the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. And that is a nationwide organization. So people can go on there and put in their zip code and find organizers that are a part of NAPO, which is a nice thing because they are, they follow the code of ethics that organizers should, and you're going to get quality people. So that is one way that you can, and also Be Organized is growing. So we hope to be in other markets throughout the country.
Those are great tips. I love that format and the organizational structure that you guys provide. So before we close out the show, we ask this of all of our guests: what is the worst financial decision you've ever made? It's easy to ask the best, right?
Yeah.
So what's the worst?
Oh, instantly. My husband and I fell prey to a timeshare salesperson. Yeah. The worst financial decision we made. Not that I'm bagging timeshares altogether, but just for us personally and the way we travel, it was not the best idea.
So let me guess, they came to you at the resort that you were at?
Exactly. Yes. And I need those salespeople on my staff. They're good. They're really good.
Needless to say, there was maybe cocktails involved. And
yes.
They
perfect. Got me right where
And my husband and I, newly married, setting up a new house, got into some kind of furniture club that we had to pay a membership to. We did not buy one piece of furniture from them. There ended up being so many limitations and stuff. And both of us and we didn't have a ton of money, starting a new home. And oh my gosh, both of us just kicked each other for years.
We all make mistakes.
No,
right?
Listen, listeners can learn from this. We can share in this. We all have plenty. So guys, I really do want to thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
If people want to learn a little bit more about your organization, it's www.beorganized.com.
Yes, B is in a bumblebee.
B is in a bumblebee. Two B's. B-double-E.
Yeah.
Listen, so there you have it. Really appreciate you guys having me on the show. For those of you that are listening, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I hope you got something out of this, can apply some of this to your daily life and experience some of the benefits of being organized and taking your home or office to the next level. If you're listening to this and have any follow-up questions regarding how to become more organized or wanting to share topics that you'd like to have us discuss on this show, please email your thoughts and ideas to podcast@marinerwealthadvisors.com. We know that your time is incredibly valuable, and we hope you find this podcast a worthwhile investment of your time. Thank you for listening.
Mariner LLC, doing business as Mariner Wealth Advisors, or MWA, is an SEC registered investment advisor. Registration of an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. MWA is in compliance with the current notice filing requirements imposed upon registered investment advisors by those states in which MWA maintains clients. MWA may only transact business in those states in which a notice has been filed or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from notice filing requirements. Any subsequent direct communication by MWA with a prospective client shall be conducted by a representative that is either registered or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from registration in the state where the prospective client resides. For additional information about MWA, including fees and services, please contact MWA or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website at www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.